Hi guys, welcome back to the Tackle Cave. Today we're going to be talking about the iOS factory S system. The S system is actually kind of like a drag clicker and a stabilizer for the rigid drag support system found in Shimano spinning reels. I think there's also a variant for daiwa, which is called the D system or something like that. Never used one of these before. Gonna install it today and gonna have a little review on it because there are not a lot of these videos out in English. They're mostly in Japanese. It's kind of hard to understand sometimes, so I thought I'll show you guys a video of me installing this. Just another note guys, this S system, there are actually two of them I think. This one is actually for 1000 to 3000 size spinning reels. There's another one for I think larger ones, such as 4000 or 5000 size spinning reels, or like something like the Twin Power XD. So what you get when you actually open it is I think two little things, which is the body of the S system itself here, and a little I think tool to unscrew the screw from the reel itself. Looks to be a Allen key or something like that. So let's just open that reel and try and put it on. So guys, before I actually take out the spool of this reel and install this S system, I'm gonna let you hear what the drag sounds like first. I think it's pretty loud for a stock reel. I'm not going to be impressed if this thing is not as loud, but obviously I'm going to make it as loud as I can. It's actually quite loud, so I'm just going to take this off. This is what we call, I think, a rigid drag support system. It's found in all Shimano reels, I think from the Stradic and above. So this thing is actually compatible with a lot of reels. So I'm just going to get this off, get this little washers off, and I'm going to pull that out. I'm not going to use this tool because I heard it's not very strong, not very good. I've got my own one here. This is a 0.8mm hex wrench. Just pull out those line lace spaces, out in your hand, put it on one side. You're going to want to unscrew this thing. In the hex wrench, very slowly. It can be stripped pretty easily, so be careful. And take it out. Like that, you get a little screw, leave it there. Pull this bit off, pull that off. So guys, after I've taken out this part from the reel, this is the stock Shimano one. It's made of black plastic, and this is the S system one. If you can see on the camera, the Shimano one has a lot bigger splines and they're more spaced out compared to the iOS factory's S system. So I think I'm going to get a lot more clicks from this rather than the Shimano one. So let's go ahead and install it. So it actually has an O-ring and a few other things with it. So that's actually the body. There are a few spaces here. I think, this is 0.25, 0.5, 1 and 2 millimeters. You get kind of like a flange bearing thing here. You get an O-ring to keep the whole assembly together. So as I said before, your main shaft should be empty of anything. This thing should freely slide like that. We're going to align the holes for the screw and the body of the S system. We're going to screw it back in. It's pretty simple. That, just screw it in, don't over tighten it. Just make sure it's nice and snug in there. And we've got it on. So assembly instruction says that I need to use the 1mm spacer here. It actually kind of works like these little black ones over here for the stock Shimano. But since I'm not really spooling line today, I can't really adjust my line lay. But these things are here so you can adjust your line lay when you put this on and you actually spool line onto it. I'm just going to go with the default one, which is 1mm, and I'll take the flange bearing and I'll put it down the flange side, which has the little collar facing downwards. Once I got that back in, I'm just going to put my O-ring over it and slide my O-ring over so the bearing doesn't fall out, like that. So when I turn it upside down, it's not going to fall out at all. They say with the new Shimanos that this new rotor design sometimes would hit the end of the S system body over here when you rotate the rotor. So this one I don't think is really going to do that, but there are some other reels that this little, that waterproof seal that covers that rubber thing over at the body of the reel. Sometimes you need to sand it down a little bit so it doesn't make contact with the bottom of the S system's body. So it feels okay on this one. Just going to put the spool back. I don't think it's going to be as loud as the one I had before, but let's see. Wow, it's actually not as loud. But you guys can hear there are more clicks to this than the Shimano one itself. So I'm not really happy with that because it's not going to be loud enough for me compared to the stock one. So now I'm going to bend my spring And I'm going to show you guys how to do that if you want to do this to your reels. You know, a lot of reel repair guys are going to say, oh, this is going to spoil your reel, your springs are going to wear out faster, stuff like that. But you know, end of the day, it's just a little spring. You break it, it's not going to cost you a lot. And it's your reel anyway. So you'll notice, you know, I actually have a few spools here as examples to show you. Like this. So this is the Vanquish spool. This is like, you know, a Yumea spool, doesn't matter what it is. But you can see there's this little ring here that says rigid support drag. To get it like the Vanquish one here, you actually need to unscrew these 3 screws, pull that out, and you get the same thing as that underneath. For reels like this, I think they are, you know, in the Twin Power 2005 range. In the 1000 size, the clicker is actually built into the spool of the reel. So there's actually no clicker at all, it's actually internally in the reel. So for reels like this, like a Twin Power 1000, 2005, Soare 1000 PGS, they're not going to be able to be compatible with this system. So we're going to leave that out. In order to do this, guys, when I want to bend my spring, I'm going to need, like, you know, either a sturdy pair of tweezers or some really micro forceps, you know, you might use for fly fishing or something like that. So you can see the springs in here. It's kind of in a straight position like that. It's not bent at all. So I'm going to need to lift that spring up using like tweezers or something. So it goes above the spool body like that, if you can see. And I'm going to need to bend it. So right now the spool spring actually looks like, you know, it's straight like that. If I want to make it louder, I need to bend it in the way that it is facing towards the middle of the spool body. So it will be like this, rather than like this, which is the stock one. If I want to make it softer, I don't want the clickers as loud, I'm going to bend it like that. I hope you guys can understand, because I can't really show it here. I think it's not going to come out very well. So right now, I'm going to bend that spring that looks like that right now to a position that is like that. And the end of that little point will be facing into the middle of the spool body. So let's just do that now. Okay, kind of bent it already. A little bit, I don't know if that's going to be enough. I'll put it back inside. You can see, I don't really know if you can, it's actually bending towards this thing. It's actually louder, but let's go a bit more. Pull it up again. Get our little forceps. Bend it a little bit more, and just put it back in the position. Okay. That's the type of loudness that I want. Just gonna screw that back and try it like that. It's not the same noise as the stock one, but it's quite defined and there's a lot of little, you know, increment click things. So I'm pretty happy with that, I think. Just gonna check whether it contacts the body of that waterproof seal. It doesn't, so I'm good. So I don't really have any, like, you know, grease or oil today because I didn't bring any with me today. Thing is, after you install this, you know, check your line lace, everything, use your spacers to move it up and down if you need to. Make sure you grease every tooth on this little thing, the toothbrush and some light grease. I'm going to say use Carl's Purple drag grease because it's really light viscosity, it's not going to gum up there. All the bearings, wash this thing out if you're going to fish in salt water or anything like that. But yeah, I think this is quite a good product. I didn't really try it just now, but normally when you have a plastic thing like that that sits on a little metal washer, the spool sometimes, even with this rigid drag support system, it tends to shake left and right like that. So it won't be entirely stable. Like shake like this, it's not going to be entirely stable. This thing, when I put it on, it actually feels a lot more stable than having the plastic piece there. So one additional thing they actually say that that system actually does is to actually smoothen your drag when it comes out, so it doesn't, like, you know, rotate the spool left and right. There's less, I think, you call it flexibility or anything like that. So it comes out in a more defined type of line, and your line is less likely to break. I don't know how true that is. I actually got this because I wanted to check out the drag clicker on this. It's not as loud, but I think I'm quite satisfied anyway. Gonna try this for a while and see how it goes. So yeah guys, that actually brings us to the end of the video today, and I hope you guys learned something today. If you want to see more content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.